Hello and welcome everybody. Dr. Jared here with our second day of the Paleo Cardiologist book read. We're going through pages 11 through 20. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the Paleo Cardiologist, again, book from Dr. Jack Wolfson, one of my favorite books. On Monday night, we're going to be doing a seminar at 6:45 for about an hour covering the highlights of the book. But for starting yesterday, for about the next 30 days, every day I'm going to post comments on roughly 10 pages of the book. So to review a little bit from yesterday, starting with cholesterol. Cholesterol is a majorly feared thing, but cholesterol is necessary. It's necessary for life. Most of it's made by your liver. The way to have good cholesterol is to have a good and healthy diet. It's essential for hormone production. It's essential for mood. It's essential for, so many different aspects. Now, day 2 here, we're going to start with chapter 2. Chapter 2 starts on page 11 or 12 here. It says LDL is not the boogeyman. So most of you, or many of you, have heard that LDL is the bad cholesterol. And while that can be the case depending on size, depending on type, LDL is still essential for life. And so a couple of things that I wanted to note starting on page 13 here. LDL is what's called a lipoprotein. Lipoproteins are considered the bus that carries passengers, so it's the analogy he uses here. So lipoproteins, or something like LDL or cholesterol, they carry things like CoQ10, vitamins A, D, E, and K, triglycerides. So they're essential for movement of things throughout the body. You remember probably from yesterday that cholesterol is required to surround every single cell wall. One thing that I found especially interesting on the next page when it talks about LDL is an LDL of 100 and an LDL of 160 has roughly the same effect on your health. So people are chronically trying to lower their cholesterol. Well, again, having a really low number is not necessarily better, and artificially lowering it through a statin or something like that, according to the book here, shows that it's actually could be worse for you and can increase death from other causes, like from cancer and things like that. Additionally, and ironically, the highest percentage of people hospitalized from a cardiac event had an LDL ranging from 60 to 130. That could be possible that's because it's artificially lowered through a medication. But realistically, there are plenty of people who have heart attacks or have cardiac events that have a quote unquote normal cholesterol. Even going over that 160 number of the bad, cholesterol, can minimally raise your risk, according to the book. So a couple of things, like I said, largest study and longest running study done in the US, 100 to 160 has a very similar 2006 study of 130,000 patients showed that the vast majority had 60 to 130. Now, this drug trial, so when you talk about drug trials, even people that had really bad cholesterol only had their chance of having a heart attack go up by a total of 2% over the course of 5 years. And I think sometimes people fear as soon as they get that number, they have to take the drug. Otherwise, they or they're like it's going to have a heart attack immediately or something. Later in the book, it talks about how on average to prevent a heart attack, it takes 63 people taking the drug for every one person, or to lower the statistic by 1%. And we'll get to that later. A couple other things that I thought were really, really interesting or notable is there's different types of LDL. There's a large fluffy LDL that really isn't all that hard on your body, but it's the small, dense LDL that's considered the problem version. That's the type that oxidizes, causes the most plaquing in your arteries, causes it and causes the most serious issues. That's the most prone to oxidation, and it also carries the most triglycerides. So when your LDL and your triglycerides are up, likely you have more of this bad LDL. Also, one thing I find interesting is that this bad LDL is most commonly produced when someone has a high carbohydrate or high sugar diet. So if you're trying to lower your cholesterol, it's not necessarily avoiding cholesterol rich foods, it's avoiding bad carbs, bad simple sugars. Also, now going into when you think about HDL, so the good cholesterol, HDL, so now we're on page 17, it talks about, diet and lifestyle are the best ways to improve HDL. Diet, with, again, avoiding carbs and sugars. Exercise is a way that's shown to really increase HDL, but also niacin. So niacin is also known as B3. So when we talk about the importance of taking a daily whole food multivitamin, or like our B vitamin B complex, a lot of people take really cheap supplements. You want to take a quality produced whole food supplement when possible, or extracted from food. But niacin, so B3, is actually shown to raise HDL significantly. Even according to this, pharmaceuticals that raise HDL don't develop into the ideal type, and so they've shown to be a very poor choice when you're trying to raise HDL. The best way to do it, again, is through diet, lifestyle, or supplementation. And for those of you that are looking for an excuse to have a glass of wine or two, alcohol in low to moderate levels also is shown to raise your overall HDL. So those are a couple things to be positive on. When you want to talk about, again, other heart healthy things, omega-3 fish oil and B3 or niacin are beneficial in lowering triglycerides. So if you've known to have high triglycerides and feel like your diet's in pretty good shape, that might be one thing to consider adding in. Now, here's one thing. When you really talk about cholesterol being genetic, or having higher cholesterol being genetic, certain people do have higher cholesterol naturally. In fact, people that are harder on their bodies, like do more athletics, may have a little bit higher cholesterol naturally. Also, as you age, your cholesterol tends to go up. If you look at the European Union, raise the average cholesterol before medication as high as 50. Why? Because people need more cholesterol, because as you age, you need more for repair. So consider that if you're aging and your cholesterol is ticking up just a little bit, you may want to consider the fact that as you age, it probably should tick up a little bit. Now, going back to this genetic part, page 19 and 20. So page 19 and 20, I have a lot of things underlined, but I really wanted you to look at the middle of the page. So it says LPA, which is similar to LDL. This is one that is genetically linked. It's most common with people that develop heart disease at a young age. But this is what causes a lot of the plaquing, can interfere with clot breakdown, can cause your blood vessels to stay constricted, so it can increase your likelihood of having high blood pressure. But although they're very difficult to get that to drop, a couple things that do help it drop. One is saturated fat. So cooking in coconut oil or eating healthy saturated fats like what you might find in avocados help lower this. And again, you guessed it, B3 or niacin is another thing that helps lower one of the things that's worse for cholesterol oxidation. So the completion of chapter 2, which says LDL is not the boogeyman. Completion of chapter 2, the positives. LDL carries cholesterol, vitamins, CoQ10, and other nutrients around the body. HDL is very beneficial, but can be damaged easily from sugar and toxins. You want to know your particle numbers and sizes, which is something that's not very commonly tested for. Ways to lower that LPA would be to start cooking with the coconut oil and eating more saturated fat. And then keep in mind that LDL does not necessarily have to cause disease. It's when it's small and damaged that LDL is the real cause. So that's pages 11 through 20. I hope you're finding this beneficial. If you are, feel free to post any questions or comments on the comment stream. And then also, as a reminder for all current clients of Chiropractic First of Rockford, we are giving this book away complimentary. And so if you would like a copy of the book, you can post in the comments, or if you feel comfortable with it, you can pick it up when you're in the clinic. So have an awesome day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.